Hello and welcome to the 23rd edition of Half Hour, a podcast starring me, John Paulo Giudice, as your host. In today's episode, I will discuss mindfulness with Dasha Darashkevich.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks
I
for
appreciate
inviting me.
Yeah, anytime. So if you want to just start us off with a little bit about yourself, like, what you're doing here in Prague and like what your experience has been.
So as you mentioned, my name is Daria, but everyone calls me Dasha. So I was born and raised in Belarus, in Minsk, but I've been living and studying in Prague in Czech Republic for already a year. And we go to the same college with JP. So you study international relations and I study psychology. That's what we're gonna discuss today a bit.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. I mean, I like our college. I think it's very unique in its setting.
Very
it's
American,
not a very big building, but the English lessons are good, especially for someone like me. I don't think I would survive in any other language.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're talking about mindfulness, what do you mean? Like, how would you define that?
Well, so first of all, I would say that mindfulness is it's like a practice of the sphere of psychology that is called positive psychology, and it's actually brand new because I would say like even a few decades ago you wouldn't find any research on it. But what's really interesting about it is that usually other spheres of psychology, they are like more focusing on the abnormal part of it, especially clinical psychology. But the mere absence of mental disorders and mental problems, they do not guarantee the happiness. And that's the thing that positive psychology is trying to investigate. Like, it's basically a scientific study of human flourishing. Because when we are talking about this kind of like scale of well-being, we can identify the flourishing as the highest form of it. It's more like the complete mental health as well as the absence of mental illness, which is opposite to the stage of floundering, in which you may struggle with mental disorder and at the same time you experience severe mental health issues. Also, there are like two other, not like stages, but types of it. It's like struggling, in which you may don't have any mental disorder, but you still struggle with your mental health. And the last one is laundering, in which it's opposite. It may sound a bit confusing. So you have a mental disorder, but in general it doesn't like interfere with your general functioning. But what do you think you identify yourself in? Struggling, flourishing, floundering, or laundering?
I would say flourishing.
Flourishing?
I think with my hair right now, it's definitely floundering. But
That's good, really.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like I experience some difficulties from time to time, and there are moments where...
of course, they're inevitable. But that's good.
Is this positive psychology like a newer field, kind of?
Yeah, it's a newer one, because mostly, people think that if you don't like have any problems or you're basically healthy, then it's what you should be satisfied with. But even if you think about this, the Maslow's pyramid of the well-being, this kind of like physiological, biological needs, they are fundamental. They're not something that you should be kind of aim for as the most important thing in your life, but it's the basis on which you can start to achieve this kind of state of flourishing, which is much more than just the absence of mental problems, and this is what positive psychology is about. And I'm glad that the people are becoming more aware of it, because especially coming from a very communistic part of the world, in which people are what kind of problems can you have if you're alive, and you should be just grateful only for it. But I mean, it's not flourishing is not only about it. So and I'm glad.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I mean, you should be happy that you're alive, and everybody should be. But there's obviously more problems than just
sure,
saying
sure.
that, you know, because people struggle with things.
Yeah, sure. And getting back to mindfulness, I would say it's like a practice that is related to the positive psychology, in which you center the awareness and the attention of your actions into daily life experiences without any kind of like evaluation. So it's basically the state of your being in which you do not give any objective assessment to it. So like, do I experience something good or bad? Like, there's nothing good and bad, there's nothing straightforward. It's just the way it is. And we can define mindfulness, I would say, as both as a state and as a trait. When we're talking about state, it's more about the current practice that you kind of like put yourself in, the certain meditation or the certain activity that you're doing related to mindfulness. But the more you practice it, the more central it becomes to you, and you can develop it as a trait in which you're like not even aware that you are in this state of mindfulness, and it becomes like a part of you, you know.
So you're saying, like, if you have a number of experiences, right?
Yeah.
Or let's say that you go about your day and, you know, whatever happens. And let's say something happens where the interaction you have either with people or with like an event or a certain like group of individuals, if you think about it in a good way, like if you think about it like this experience doesn't have to be bad, like, oh, like I can learn from this. For example, like let's say that you see three people that you might not be too big of fans of, and you think to yourself, well, you know, I have to talk to them for the next 10 minutes, but then you can be like, talking to them is going to give me this information, so it's like it's actually a good thing at the end of the day. Is that kind of
yeah, that's really that's good that you mentioned that. Like, I don't like these people, but at the same time, when you're focused on some positive aspects on it, that you said that I will definitely bring something good from it, it's good, but you don't need to at the same time deny this like negative part of it. Because you know, when mostly people are saying like, I'm not sad or I'm not angry, everything is all right with me. But I mean, if you're literally angry or sad, then what's wrong with it? And this kind of like negative emotions and feelings, the more you experience of them, the more diversity you have in your emotional spectrum. Because if you didn't have this feeling of negative emotions, you wouldn't understand what are positive ones, basically. So, and this is what it is about, that you do not evaluate is it good or bad, right? It's just if I get something from it, that's really good, but it's just the way it is. It's my surroundings, I accept it the way it is. And yeah, both aspects of it, positive as well as negative, they are like complement each other and giving you more broad spectrum of your emotions. And yeah, I really love it that like mindfulness doesn't saturate the negative emotions with something that we have to avoid. So
yeah, I hear like avoidance is not a good thing necessarily
sure.
in psychology.
Of course, yeah, sure. Like all this, you know, coping mechanism with stress that you can do both unconsciously and consciously, like avoidance, repression, compartmentalization, they will subsequently result in different mental pathologies that have more unconscious nature, and yeah, it's definitely not good.
So if you were going to tell someone or recommend to somebody how to practice this kind of trait a little more?
Maybe I will provide you with my own example. How do I like mostly practice it? Maybe it's gonna be more clear. So as I said, it can be it can be both as a like certain practice that you're aware of, more like a state, which eventually may become more like your lifestyle, which you are like not like practicing on a daily basis, but you're sticking to this idea of mindfulness. And personally, it really helped me with my anxiety because I have anxiety disorder. And the thing that what I did in the beginning is that I've been constantly trying to, like fight with my anxiety. But like it's senseless because when you fight with yourself, you will always lose. And the only way was to like accept it as a part of me, which makes me myself. And I started to practice it in the beginning in this like very acute stages of anxiety, I would say, when you have either like a panic attack or anxiety attack. You just, anxiety makes you think more about the future when you like overthink what's gonna happen. Am I gonna die? Am I gonna go crazy or something like that? While, for example, depression is more about the thoughts in the past when you overthink your past experiences. And what you really need to do is to ground yourself in the present. And the technique that is really good with the like this very acute panic, I think that maybe pretty a lot of people know it. Maybe they just don't like realize it, that maybe it's like kind of mindful technique, but it's this thing that you're just trying to analyze your environment. For example, I know one exercise, it's called like, I call it just 5 to 1. I don't know if it has any certain name, but you just need to identify 5 objects around yourself that you can see. Then you need to identify 4 objects that you can hear, 3 objects that you can touch, 2 that you can smell, and 1 that you can taste. So it's like improves your sensory perception that makes you more grounded in the present moment, and kind of like brings you back from this terrible state of overwhelming and anxiety and makes you more aware of your present surroundings.
So it's almost like you're distracting your senses to engage in the other stimuli, like in the environment.
Yeah, I would say so. I wouldn't say it's like avoidant. No, it's like more about the putting yourself in the present, which about this avoidant thing, maybe it's more clear in this general like practice of mindfulness. For example, when I experience, do you know what is like derealization, depersonalization? Maybe you've ever heard about it? No. So yeah, basically it's like a symptom of different mental disorders that mostly most of them have like a basis of neurosis, but they can also present themselves in even psychotic disorders like schizophrenia. The thing is that it's like a coping mechanism of your nervous system in which, because if you're trying to deal with the very acute stress, it just basically cannot handle it, and it starts to like reduce your sensory perception on the environment, and it results in this feeling of unreality. You may ask, are you crazy? No, I'm not. So, and like in case of depersonalization, this feeling of unreality, it's directed towards yourself. So you may perceive yourself like you're not like unreal, but
like you just don't fit in the.
Yes, like personally, I had a feeling like I'm dreaming. Like, am I sleeping right now? And in case of derealization, it's more about the environmental perspective that you perceive the surroundings around you unreal. As far as I know, like almost all the people experienced it throughout their lives. Maybe like it was a short-term experience in which maybe you were stressed, but when it becomes like on a daily basis, then it's more about pathology. yeah, again, you may ask, am I crazy? The difference between this kind of like terrifying states of the realization with psychosis, for example, is that you don't lose your critical thinking. So you may just experience these sensations, but you understand that it is just my perception and my feeling of it. It's not what is actually is. Like,
So is it almost a feeling of like being like a ghost? Is that
mm,
like in your own?
it's so hard to explain it if you've never experienced it. I would say maybe yes, someone would describe this feeling like you're a ghost. Personally, I felt sometimes like my, I don't know, the proportion of my body like differs, that I can be either like too tall or too short, or the surroundings around me, they're like the tree is either like too flat or the building is too short, just these proportions, they're very distorted.
Could I get this feeling if I'm surrounded by people who are like, a head or two taller than me? Like, let's say it's me and four other people and they're all very tall, and I'm standing there
Good
like.
question. I would say,
Is it kind of like a realization, like you kind of step back and you're like, wait a minute, and you look around and kind of
you
like
mean
see
in,
the
the,
world?
in this case when
Yeah.
like you're surrounded by the taller people?
I
Or
guess.
in
Like,
Yeah, you feel super detached from the reality. That's the thing, that you're in this state of mindlessness when you feel like everything that surrounds me, it's not about my life. Like, that I'm somewhere, I'm either dreaming or I'm somewhere like in the video game, and everything around me is just the decorations. But yeah, it's just the coping mechanism of your nervous system that is trying to basically protect you from this stress that you cannot handle, and by like freezing your this perception. And yeah, in this case also mindfulness, I would say, is really helpful because yeah, personally I would say it's really the most, I think, terrifying thing that I've ever experienced in my life. And I was just trying to, ground myself, and in the beginning, I started from my own like sensations. I asked myself, for example, am I sitting or am I staying? Am I drinking or eating something? Do I feel any kind of pain or tension in my body? And then you direct this like perspective towards the external environment. You may analyze, for example, I don't know, do I feel any kind of smell? Do I hear any sounds? Through which forms and colors does the environment appear in front of me? And then you kind of like combine these two perspectives, and you can analyze the quality of your thoughts, more like, are my thoughts aimed more to the future or to the past? And you kind of like trying to bring yourself here, that like what here is like the place, the present that I'm in is where I should be.
so it's important not to like dwell on the past in this way. Like, you don't want to like
Yeah,
continuously think.
yeah, but at the same time, if you have any thoughts related to your past, you're just kind of like try to accept them and let them go. So like, don't think that I don't need to think about the past right now. No, again, it's just thought. It's the way it is. It's neither good nor bad.
So like the way I'm understanding it is like the past can teach you like a lesson or be some sort of a guide for kind of like your present and future thoughts. Like, and you want to keep your future thoughts very kind of like positive and open-minded. Is that kind of where you're going with it?
Wait, you mean that your past experiences sharpen your future, or like?
In a way, I suppose.
Of course, they influence. I would say they influence your present state, in which you are responsible for creating your future. So like, anyway, we cannot know what's gonna happen in the future, and you're the only person who can decide what it will be. Of course, you may take into consideration certain past experiences, but again, neither good nor bad. So like, but I wouldn't say, of course, that like your past experiences may be a predisposition for your future, because like it's the present in which you may change it in any way. So yeah. And what else? Yeah, about this state of this mindfulness is, I know a lot of people also practice it as a meditation, in which you may also just, the world right now especially super ever changing, super fast, in which like people are just cannot comply with this such a fast pace, and sometimes we just need to slow down and analyze a bit the environment, like smell the roses as someone said. And in this case, it's also really good, this practice that you just slow down, you just sit down, or I don't know, lay down, the way is better for you. And again, you're trying to analyze, first of all, yourself, like again, do I feel some kind of pain? If you feel this like tension in your body or something, you're trying to relax it, again by breathing. And mostly mindfulness meditations are related to the breathing, that it's like becomes the main focus on it of it. So you just breathe in, breathe out, you focus on it, you control the qualities of your thoughts, that again, accepting and letting them go, staying in the present, and just analyze your like sensory perception.
One thing that my mom told me to do was called grounding. You like take your shoes off and stand in the grass. I did that a few times, but I remember I was laughing with my buddy because he was like, "You can't check your phone when you're meditating, right?" And I was like, I don't think so. I mean, like, I don't know if that's a prerequisite, but how would you say, like, meditating, how would you tell someone to meditate in this way? Like, okay, take someone like me who doesn't meditate, I don't ground much. I mean, there's snow on the ground right now, so I feel like I wouldn't want to get
today's the first day of the snow. So.
Yeah, it's actually gorgeous out there.
Yeah, it's my snowing energy today.
No, it's good. I was hoping that Prague would get some snow. Maybe not, yesterday, but like just in general.
Yeah.
Like this winter break, I hope we see some snow. That'd be nice.
Yeah. So, sorry again. How would I define the person who doesn't like do any kind of activities, or what?
No, like, well, we can talk about that, but also like, if you were gonna tell someone to meditate, like if you were gonna recommend to them how they would go about it, what would you say? Like, I would always tell people, if you want to meditate, you put your phone aside, you like get rid of most of the stimuli, and then you just kind of sit. And you have to go like this. Like, it's the only way. It's like the only way to do it.
It's not necessary, actually, this thing. So first of all, it should definitely be voluntary. Voluntary, yeah. So you cannot like force anyone to do it. As like you mentioned, that like put aside your phone, sit straight. It should be something that like you feel like I need this at a certain moment, And yeah, I would recommend definitely to isolate yourself from any stimuli that can kind of like trigger you, the background sounds or something like that, the phone as well. And yeah, I know mostly people like associate these meditations with this, like, I don't know, the state of hypnosing or something like this deep, all these things in your unconscious. I don't really like it. I mean, it definitely has a certain place to exist in the psychological practices. But again, I'm more about like mindfulness in which you're not trying to, I don't know, put yourself in the altered state of consciousness, but it's more about the opposite, that you're grounding yourself. So yeah, you just can sit straight, you just... analyze your perception, your environment, and you're trying to relax your body, trying to be in the present, in the moment, and without any evaluation.
I know that, I've climbed a lot of mountains just in general. That's why I like this background. That's why I use this background every time.
Yeah.
But I've never climbed this mountain. I wish I could someday. Maybe I will. This is the tallest mountain in Austria, actually.
Looks amazing.
But I distinctly remember climbing a few mountains and then sitting down, and it's so quiet and it's so peaceful, and you're looking out on the world from thousands of feet in the air. I don't know how many meters it was. I think this mountain was like 5,000 or 6,000 feet. This was back home in the U.S. But I do remember sitting there for like 5-10 minutes, just kind of soaking it all in, and just kind of like I didn't realize it at the time, but I think I was doing some sort of meditation because I put my phone aside. My friends were on the other side of the peak, and I just kind of like sat there and like really thought about the present, like where I am, my surroundings, like how beautiful it all is, and like
it's really nice. And how was your experience after it? Did you feel any?
Yeah, I felt good.
changes?
Yeah, I felt good. Every time I come off the mountain, I feel like this sense of like accomplishment, like I did something. But I think it's important to kind of also, when I feel like this is part of the grounding thing, but when you go out into nature and you like see the world, I think it's actually very mentally beneficial.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
of course, yeah.
I'm doing this hike tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. It's with the
Nice.
school, so I'm excited
Nice.
to go and see, like, part of me that's part of my therapy is like I need to go and see,
Yeah,
nature,
that's nice
like
that you have
walk in the park,
something,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
That's cool, yeah. And yeah, of course, like mindfulness is super like versatile concept that each person can interpret it in their own way. And yeah, if it's for you, this thing with hiking and mountains, then yeah, it's amazing.
What would you say to like the audience, in the sense that if you were going to define how to recognize mindfulness in like 10 seconds, like how would you?
It's actually a very hard question because, even there is very little research on mindfulness because it's super hard to like catch this state in the certain moment, because when you're trying to like evaluate this like feeling, when you're trying to elaborate if it's mindfulness or not, then you're kind of like getting out of it, because it's more something that the background feeling, like a flow that you're not fully aware of. I would say maybe it's better to focus on identifying the moments in which you're feeling like mindless, the opposite state, and you again try to convert this mindlessness into the state of mindfulness. But I'm actually really struggling to answer how to identify this state of mindfulness, because first of all, it's different to feel this, because it's more like a trait, not a state, as we said, if you were talking about the background feeling of it. And also for different people, mindfulness has like a different interpretation, as we said. So it's more about your own perception and your own satisfaction with your life, with quality of your life. So it's your subjective well-being. Yeah.
It sounds like something that more people should practice, including myself.
Yeah, why not? And I really love this, like existential trait of the mindfulness, and in general of the positive psychology, because it more derives from the humanistic school of psychology, in which they basically the humanist psychologists like center the human being as the main value of all existence. And basically you kind of like it's very similar to the John Locke's approach of tabula rasa, in which you're like born as a blank state and you find the meaning of your life in this meaningless existence, you know. So like each person has their own meaning of life
that they
which
craft.
which you identify for yourself. And yeah, another trait of existentialism is that it accepts like suffering and pain as inevitable part of your life. And it may sound a bit depressive, but I don't know, I would say like again, why it should be why we should avoid it again if it's really if it's something that we will always face, different struggles, different problems, and
it's part of life, you know, like all of it, it's all included, like whether it's like, you know, some of your worst struggles or some of your greatest achievements, that's like all mixed in there, you know.
And so
I was gonna say, I like how not only you're doing this topic but bringing attention to the fact that people are, and especially in today's culture, especially where I come from in the US, I feel like there's a big, people want to avoid the pain. They want to drink it away, they want to smoke it away, they want to do anything they can to avoid it without really facing it, and also understanding that this pain is part of life. Like there's good and there's bad, you know, and I feel like there's a big missing piece there. People don't want to feel that bad, and the bad is what gives the good meaning, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And even from the existentialism, like the perspective of existentialism, they even accept the mental pathologies as normality. I'm not even talking about anxiety or depression now, but even the cases of schizophrenia, like the psychotic episodes when the person experiences any kind of hallucinations. So from the perspective of existentialism, it would be considered as like a part of the reality of this person that hallucinate, basically. That like the hallucinations is a part of his reality, which means that they have a certain right to exist. So I'm not sure if it's like morally justifiable, you know, like if it's right or wrong, because definitely we should pay attention to the pathologies. But again, it's good that you can accept your state of being without like giving any objective assessment to it.
Okay,
So,
well, we're kind of out of time, but I do have one last question. Are you a glass half full person or a glass half empty person?
Glass full, oh, I don't know. I would say anyway it's half full glass, because
so you take a more like optimistic outlook?
Yeah, sure, of course. How can you like overcome daily struggles without humor, you know? And of course I'm mostly trying to take the positive perspective on some problems and some struggles. So but again, we're not denying the presence of the negative feelings, but we're trying to adopt more positive perspective to the things. Yeah,
all right, well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you for inviting me.
Guys, that was Mindfulness. We should have some more episodes coming out shortly. And cheers. Thanks for coming.